Welcome to the show. Welcome to the freaking... a little glitching there. I had some glitching in my headphones for a second. So I was listening to my last episode and I decided to make this one a little bit more better as per usual. Just making every single last one of everything I do, constantly improving on everything. Once again, I have some notes on this episode, but this is more concise. This one's actually a lot more concise. I have a bunch of pretty, try to make this one short and digestible, and also at the same time cram as much information as I can into this short span of time that I have here. So I'm going to be talking about some of the basic clearing out. It's sort of like spring cleaning of the show, just clearing out and putting in topics that I can get off just to get off the list for now, until everything ends up being a whole hell of a lot more regimented and better. The way that I've gotten the show on YouTube and visuals, that's pretty much going to be one of the plus sides of how everything's going. Now, for the most part, I do a lot of actually checking in with people and talking about promoting about projects. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about me, and then I'll have a totally improvised freestyle off the fly story of one of the topics that I mentioned. So with all that jabbering that I just did right now, let's just fucking get into it. Get down right to it. Nitty-gritty. I am mickeygemineye. This is called episode 32. Podcast. That was Voyage from the new freaking single that just put out. You heard it first officially here when this episode airs. I know it's the end of the week and I am late again, as I mentioned last week, but I am usually always late on most of my podcast premieres, so I've sort of got to get out of that groove, as I do with most bad habits, and make sure that I don't just make a seriously attached habit of just putting stuff out late just for the sake of putting it out late. That's all it is at this point. I'm just really just putting it out late just to be late on purpose at this point, really. At least that's how it seems to me. But as for that single, this has been premiered here first. Before I've actually released it. It's going to have to be under a new project. So everything that's under the current project right now is really is pushing everything out. While it's just pushing everything out right now while it's got it, and then whatever the new stuff comes out, I need that breath of fresh air and that break and that space in between, a very large one at that, most likely, before putting stuff out with the current project. But this new project that's going to have this single that you just heard is still, it hasn't even been revealed yet. So most likely what's the singles that are on the current project that are going to be released under the new project with this fresh new idea that I have of re-release. Now, this single that you just heard actually really ties into some really big news, and that is that I have just released my movie Voyage. That was the song Voyage from the album Voyage. The movie Voyage has just been released, and it's booming with 280 views in one day. Whoa. No likes or comments though, so I'm quite suspicious on whether they're real views, and I'm also quite not caring that much really about it, simply other than for the sake of just having to mention it. That's really all it's there for. It's just really just there to give me something to talk about, because I'm certainly not dwelling on it too much and thinking upon it too much. But all those views in one day, wow, cool, big news, big stuff. As for the rest of the movie, it's got deleted scenes being released tomorrow evening, Central Standard Time, and there's going to be some freaking much needed relief and weight off my shoulders when that's done and through, as I can then focus on my music videos and the new project and finishing up the stuff that needs to be put out with the current project. And then all that being done, my shorts and YouTube shorts, the ones that are like 60-second videos, are going to end up being a little bit better, even though I just posted a few, if you've seen, on my official personal page, my official mickeygemineye on YouTube. There's some pretty cool camera angles in there, a couple of funny things, a bunch of random shit. Anyway, one of the things before I get into my notes and crack into those is that I want to mention is I have to focus on enunciating, because I'm listening to my last episode and noticing I'm not enunciating too much. I can think to myself and I go, oh, that's too much time it takes to actually enunciate. Well, that's the whole point of speaking, is to have the word that I'm speaking be enunciated, so that it's taking up a certain chunk of time for me to pronounce the words and say these words. And the human mouth does not ever cease to be tired upon speaking, so I'll have no troubles working on my enunciation, and this will be a great platform for doing so. Now let me get into a couple other things on my mind before I crack into the notes. I think that my movie being released is a relief. I think that these new projects coming out, all of it being pushed out, is going to be really good. All the stuff that I'm actually currently working on in the studio right now is for the new project, so you won't be seeing, other than the single you just heard, exclusively here, and whenever I release YouTube, you won't be seeing anything new other than the current project that I have. And it's really honestly yet to be determined what those genres are. I don't really think it's my call to make, but I can aim for a certain genre and then always just edit it later if it ends up falling into a different category other than what I thought it was. So it's no biggie, no problems, no props. Now let's get into these notes that I have here. First, I want to open up with the first one. I'm going to have to label this episode Confessions, so I can get that out of the way first before I think about a couple the other stuff I have in the notes here. I am not a virgin, first off and foremost. There might be some confusion at some point in time on whether that needs to be validated or not, or whether someone cares about if I am or not, but most likely no one cares if I'm a virgin. But sometimes people hang on to things you say, and you got to be a little bit able to follow up on those if you happen to have screwed up and said something intentionally or unintentionally. By the time it comes down to it and you follow up with what you have said, it's not that big of a deal. It's just important that you clear it up, so I'm clearing it up right now. I am not a virgin, but I am also not going to even add in after the headache that might have caused me. I don't know. It's just a bit of a intuition that I'm speaking on right now. And there's not really any substantial validation required for me to follow that up, but that's good. I got that cleared up. Another thing that I want to mention in terms of confessions is a couple things, actually. I have a lot of history recording music, making podcasts, and all that stuff, and I, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever it may be, will not be revealing the nature of my history in recording music and what I used to do with music and what I used to do with podcasts. I will not be revealing these things. That is one of two. Two of two is that I have also a lot of interest in certain subjects that has caused me to become unknown. It's unknown whether I'm well versed in these things or not. I'm not sure whether I'm well versed in these subjects that I've been interested in educating myself on or not. But my third and last confession is that I will not be making shorts and uploading videos and uploading shorts that contain the information of such subjects, of the aforementioned ambiguous subjects. And so that's that. That settles that. Now I can get into the stuff that I can start slowly working into the stuff I have in the notes here. This isn't quite a confession, but this is somewhat of a similar thing. I did see a lot of hype around the music video for Someone's Daughter by Ginger, and did not check it out. I did not check out the video. I didn't listen to the song, though I do want to hear the song. I didn't watch the video, and I'm just pretty pumped and stoked about it. I have not looked into it, so a little bit of setting the framework there for something to talk about on a future episode is, and check out this video and song and see what I think about it. And you never know, I might wind up in an argument with someone in the comments, and you never know where that could lead. You have to be very careful nowadays. Some pretty risque type business, as I have at least heard about in another podcast. I think it was probably Joe Rogan's podcast or something, back when I used to listen to that X, or back when it was Twitter, had become a place for people to argue, and then next thing you know, that person you're arguing with shows up at your doorstep, and then they wind up catching cases, and someone's pressing charges for some assault and battery or something. But I don't know how that's been going nowadays. But following up too with the last episode, I'm also still somewhat under a rock and not consuming much media at all, and it is great for refurbishing and getting myself refreshed and keeping my content that I put out quite fresh for you, listener or viewer. Finishing up all that, wrapping up that beginning half of the show, I want to I want to keep trucking along. For now, I have to use this. I have to use this this style of navigating through conversation where it seems kind of like I'm snapping through, and also a part of me is also a little bit waiting for my interlude music, as I have it preset. It's a preset, and it's actually coming up. I've just checked right now. It's actually coming up, so I can actually babble for a couple seconds here before my preset interlude music's cued, and give you a little bit of an intimate moment with me, where I'm telling you a little bit of how I feel about all that, just to make sure it's actually wrapped up. That like having to express to you guys about that, and even if it's just to myself, I've checked on the views in the last few videos, and they're not doing too bad. I would much rather prefer my 10 views in a week from my last podcast over 280 views in one day with no comments and no likes, no shares, nothing like that. It doesn't matter to me unless I get the get the misunderstandings out of the way as well. But having that said, we can now move forward with the show, with the interlude music just coming up in 5 seconds. I know last time I was mentioning it, and it was in my mind, and then it was preset as well, and then it showed up, and then it was like, oh, perfect. But this one now I'm like anticipating it. It's like it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. But here it is, the freaking interlude music. Vault of Doom podcast. Well, now here I have to get into these notes here, and I seem to have written. Now that I've checked those few things off the list here, now that I've got to look at my notes, I could see here. I could start. I could even just. It's so concise this time. I could even pick and choose which one I want to start with. I think I want to start with the lyrics here, because I have no way that I'm gonna remember unless I start right now. So the lyrics. The lyrics for. Well, the lyrics part of the process of what I needed to do has been completed today. So all the lyrics that I freaking have had uploaded to my portfolio are now copywritten, protected, with all that stuff backed up to, just in case I need to do so. Just go ahead and email that stuff to somebody where they can, or just self-represent if I need to. I don't know. Just take somebody to the level of, hey, I wrote these at this date. This is my intellectual or creative property, and then I'm kind of I've taken it that one step further, like not overnight, not yesterday, not last week, not last month, not last year. I just didn't have all the stuff in my portfolio to be the way I wanted it to be. So now that it's going to be, the planets are aligning on that front. So with lyrics, check. That's kind of how I treat these notes here. It's like I'm checking everything off, and then get my last word at whatever little bit that I can off the end. But it's not okay. I got to start being a little bit more personal about this stuff. So I'll work on that, along with my enunciation, of course. That's how I always say it. Couple it with a couple other bad habits I have, and next thing you know, you actually enjoy listening to the show as much as I do, or my other 10 viewers, or whoever else watches it. One of the things I'm going to do while I'm segueing before choosing a note here is I have a little bit of a sense of humor. I'm not particularly a funny person. I'm not particularly somebody who has a sense of humor, but I do like to think about stuff from various different perspectives to help keep me interested in whatever it is that I'm doing, and by the time that I freaking get down to sit down here to mention it, I fucking forgot. Fuck. Nonetheless, that's all fine and dandy, but I'm pretty sure I can dig it up if I just take a second here. No, it's gone. It's okay. It's not that important anyway. But the other thing that I have written down here in my notes is where this is where I could start getting to a little bit more of the context that in the framework that I would like it to be in anyway, where I'm speaking of things a little bit more professional, on a more professional level. So here's what I was mentioning earlier about the movie. Here's the deets on that. I had a set of videos that are from the film. The first set that is out is just the regular film. The whole film itself in its entirety is available for streaming on YouTube with tags added. Deleted scenes will not be added till tomorrow evening. And this whole set of videos is really going to be something that took up a whole lot of time and a whole lot of patience and very little creativity, as all I did was use the same type of kind of ethos that I work with at all my art. So having something that I pop into my head that I was thinking earlier that being a little bit more important, I can mention that. And that is, I'm trying to get my stuff out there to local people and have them check it out so that I can almost kind of speak to them directly and just say, hey, this is what, this is where, this is the parameters under which I'm communicating with you, and then it's going to help me move me forward a little bit. It'll help my community move forward a little bit as I'm mentioning important details about being a content creator, with the majority of the world earning their income off of doing this. And as for the rest of my notes here, let me just brush on down through these until I think of something else cool to say that is not in the notes. That's my favorite part, stuff that's not in the notes. But I wrote these down because they're important, and I think they're important to talk about. So, moving in correct order here, I had a chance to watch a concert. It was an RT concert the other day from a band that is a band that is evidently under the Orthodox Christianity that I had to look up. And then I did some digging, and then not really. I didn't really do any digging at all. I did a Wikipedia search, and I found out a little bit about Orthodox Christianity and how it didn't help me at all with the understanding that I was like that I require in order to speak on it. So putting it out there is going to be important. But I should be able to do this with people. That's the most important thing about writing this down. My thoughts are, I should be able to research this stuff with people, get a brainstorming session go down, where I can be like, well, what is up with this? What is really going on with this that I don't have any idea. I don't have any clue what is the deal with Orthodox Christianity, and then having it be something to do with something satanic, having some kind of satanic connotations or something like that, or even just using it for that context. I don't know, but it's quite interesting indeed. And next up on this format of doing the show, where I'm just running on down the line, checking everything off down the box there. Video of Spotify is apparently a new big deal that the app wanted to announce. That they have a whole article on it where 250,000 people or quarter of a million videos are now on video version on Spotify, whereas like a few years ago or during lockdown 2020 there was only 120,000 or something like that. So people are getting their news and obtaining their information in this way. People are doing the Spotify video version. That is one way to word it, one way to phrase it. But it's specifically that you're on Spotify, but you're watching the video version of a podcast. And then you're watching the sit down, and then you're sitting down watching these guys sit down and do it, and then that's your news consumption. That's your way of consuming media and getting information about what's going on in the world today and current events and everything. So as for all this stuff being out of the way, I want to mention a couple other very personal things before I get into whatever's freestyle and off the top of my head type of stuff. I want to mention here that kind of is a follow-up off of the previous episode before last. The episode before last where Metal Archives does not allow AI-generated music or AI-generated artists or any of that stuff. So having that be something that they're doing, well, it's also just so happens I agree and I'm on the same page as that. So I do the same thing. I have all of my content non-AI generated. So one of the important things on creating my stuff is that I don't use templates. I'm going to have to do like a reminder after I'm done as I'm going so fast. So non-AI generated, video on Spotify, non-AI generated, and then my templates that I make have just now became important, even though I made a video on how to make templates last winter, and it's just now become important to me that when you're doing everything manually, not AI generated, you're going to need templates. You're going to need templates for all the stuff that you do, and that is the title of the content, the title of the video, the descriptions, the hashtags, the regular tags, and then trying out using them with regular tags is going to be something I'm going to try out next as I sit there and I do my tags manually through one at a time and everything. However, there is services that you could pay for that have them do all your tags for you in the YouTube app. Now, the other templates for generally speaking would be whatever content I'm making. So if it's music only, those would be templates that I just have all that stuff for title, description, and tags. As for all that pretty much wraps up everything I have in the notes, aside from one, and those are, and this is a topic that I want to make sure is totally emphasized based onto the pretext that it's my opinion, and it's also an educated opinion too. That I've also mentioned this before. It's the reason I wrote this down in the notes and why I'm mentioning it in this episode is that I had mentioned before something about having your video consumption, your YouTube video consumption, or whatever artist or music that you're listening to, be supporting the artist or the label through directly consuming this content through the official artist's page, channel, and the official record label's channel. Otherwise, you're under an AI-generated topics channel that just has topics dash your artist that you're listening to. And I mentioned this before, but there's a problem with that in and of itself. I won't go into that now, as I've already mentioned it before, but even though I basically brushed over it right now. And then there's the problem with that is when it comes down to merch and the artists not getting money for their merch. Someone that I interviewed has mentioned this in one of their posts, that he's taken a screenshot of a website that sells his merch, and it's a bit of the doppelganger or like fugazi style merch that you're buying, and some people care, some people don't care, but the artist and the labels always care. So having that be where a segue into where I stand on it, as that's just ground level information. That's just basic information right there. How I feel about it actually is different than that, and that's why I have to kind of allow you to prepare for how I feel about it, as I am totally against it. This is, or let me allow myself a second here to prepare for how I feel about it, because I'm totally against it. Have mentioned this before, and the understanding is basic and simple and easy to understand, that if the artist sells merch, creates merch, you buy it through their specific site. Even if it's indie merch, the artists that rock the artists that make the logo that you're rocking on that T-shirt, on that Obscura T-shirt, is giving Obscura some of the cash that you spend on that merch, on any merch, or something official, something verified, something with a check mark on it and the blue stamp. One thing that's important to emphasize on this is also, I could talk about my opinion all day, but there's more information about this that's important to emphasize, and that's most people don't check. Most people don't have time to check, and that's what it is. It's not that people are trying to get a discount most of the time. Most of the time it's just that people don't know better. They don't know. They don't have time to check. They don't know the difference. But there is a difference, and you have to check to make sure that your content you're consuming is on the official YouTube channel of the artist or label, and that the merch that you buy is from an official site where you don't have to look into it too much. But when you know, for example, indie merch has it all. They have all the artists and stuff like that, and then on the back side of the coin, artists want to get their merch up to there to sell more of their merch. As we know, most of us are not going to concerts and live shows as much nowadays. We're used to be able to do all that there. And then as for the specific thing that made me write down the topic, there's the screenshot taken from the website that's selling bogus Fugazi merch, and how angry the artist was. This was last week or something, and or something like that. And then the guy is not getting the money for the stuff, and he's saying, make sure you check. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you know what, actually, yeah, make sure you check, but you really shouldn't have to remind people of this, educate them on this, as people should be doing it themselves. And so it's really a lost cause to do anything other than, when you notice it, mention something about it, and afterwards continue to do so. Really, just from time to time, whenever it's kind of natural, just keep this topic afloat on my show a little bit, and then mention it some. Having the good merch is going to be a good feeling too. It's going to be like slipping on some warm clothes that you just pulled out of the dryer or something like that. It'll make you feel better knowing that you have official merch. All the notes that I have is there, and And then all the stuff that I have on my mind right now is here, where I could try to close off the show, even though I'm going to have to do a little bit of tweaking my software to find the thing that I can keep track of it so I can't babble too long here. But there's really nothing else much more that's going on for this episode other than just it's like a lot of simple details that I wanted to convey based on the current running projects that I'm working on, and that I'm still doing my daily thing where I have a little bit here. I'm just pinching at it a little bit here, picking at it a little bit here, a little bit there, and then I'm having all this stuff ready for the new project. All the songs that I have out for the current project are as good as they could be. I've featured a couple of them on the previous episodes. I even had the chance to, in the last episode, show you something from the EP before last from it, and that was something I was really happy with how the volume levels turned out, all the effects, mixing and mastering. But I can't ever spend too much time there, and I'm definitely never too satisfied with any of my work. So all the cool little ideas and actual specific details that you might want to hear that I should be talking about right now is stuff that I can't talk about, and that even includes like even the name of the new project or anything like that. But having everything do its thing naturally and work itself out is it is the satisfaction of the whole thing. It is where the satisfaction comes from on the whole thing. It's just like the unspoken and the unknown aspects of it all, having it be in and of itself what makes it what it is, and that is creating true art as a true artist. And so with you being bored of hearing me jabbering and tired of hearing me self-promote, and me being out of topics that I wrote down, the only thing that I would have left to do now is choose something from psychedelic, paranormal, supernatural, and tell you guys a cool story. Vault of Doom podcast. Alright, this is the only story that I could think of straight off the top of my head is this is the time that I freaking had some really spooky stuff happen to me when I was I was dealing with some freaking insects and animals type story for you here, where I was laying down sleeping. Didn't have to worry about too many supernatural stuff. Animals are real. Animals are actually real. So it's up to you. You be the judge on whether it's actually scary or not. But it's an animal thing. It's like I'm laying down sleeping. I had just traveled a little bit all day long or something, and walked around and done my little exploring thing. I came across like a cool bookmark with like a fairy on it or something, and it was from some bookstore that had the word fairy in it. It was like the fairy bookstore or something like that. I don't know. So I had like a good day. I was tired and exhausted. So I don't know. I lay down. I unravel my sleeping bag and lay my bones down for rest and to get some much needed rest. And it's nighttime and it's dark. It's almost like pitch black. I'm kind of outside of the town, in between towns. But it's still the wilderness. There's great big redwoods around me. There's pretty big trees. Those are the biggest trees we got around here. There's some pretty big trees, and so I'm like, oh, this is great. I had my little creature comforts ready. I'm like, all right, yeah, time for some rest. I probably cracked open a beverage of some sort, and ate some kind of snack and nibbled on some kind of snack or something, and I had my flashlight ready. I had like a flashlight and a knife, and I know better than to be in the wilderness. Don't get caught in the wilderness without a flashlight and a knife. So I had mine ready and handy, right, readily accessible by my side. So I'm fully leveled. I'm laying down. I'm closing my eyes a little bit. I'm getting ready to slip into dreamland, and I'm just sitting there, like yes, there it is. The moment of sleep is gripping me, and rest and repair, my body being repaired is upon me, and the loudest grumble and screech and groan and scary ass loud noise that I ever freaking heard was coming from right below me, from right below where I chose to lay down. I literally hopped up right away, grabbed my knife. I looked like an animal. From my reaction was animal-like. I looked like an animal when I reacted to this scary groan. Okay. And I pull my sleeping bag up. I brush off the hay or the grass or whatever it was that was covering whatever was under me. It might have even been a plank of wood or something. And I get that stuff out of the way, and there's like a sewer or like some kind of drain or entrance into the ground. And inside of there, I peeked my head inside of this hole to the nether regions of the earth, down into the underworld or something, and the thing just kept growling and screeching. It was loud enough and bass-filled to be a bear. It was loud enough or something to be some creature of that size, but I don't think that's what it was. I honestly think it was a raccoon or something like that. But the ways, the natural effects Mother Nature had given it had made the sound of its voice sound something otherworldly. It really sounded like something seriously not from this world. Like it was very disconcerting and very unsettling to have experienced this when I was just slipping into sleep mode, and so I literally just thought nothing of it. Even there's that first groan and then that first reaction, and my inability to locate where it was coming from. Before I discovered the hole and that I was somewhere living inside that hole, I searched around where I was sleeping. I searched underneath some structures to see under there, to see if it was under there. I went at least 10 or 15 yards away, searching around with the knife, wielding my knife and poised for striking if I had to, thinking it's a bear of some sort. And when I found nothing, I went back and laid down again. And then after laying down again, the thing kept groaning. That's what made this story stick out so much in my memory, is that it kept going. It just kept groaning and groaning and going. After the third or fourth time of having gotten up, I actually relocated maybe across the way or something like that. But I honestly hadn't even relocated across the way until trying first 10 yards away or something like that. So all the way until I got all across the way to my final destination for the night, I was trying to lay down, and, smoke a couple cigarettes to calm my nerves a bit, and just drift off into sleep mode. But the thing kept groaning, and I don't know where it was, but I don't know where it was in that hole, but it was somewhere in that hole, and it was some creature that it just couldn't have been a raccoon or a bear or something like that. Whatever it was, I just really think it was it was stuck in there. So before I actually relocated sleeping, I had some Iggy Pops. I don't know if you can recall ever trying anything similar to an Iggy Pop, but there's a popcorn brand called Iggy Pops. So I'm eating these Iggy Pops. I don't know if that brand is favorable to you or not. If it would please you to try some of this flavored popcorn, but it was like some kind of caramel flavored popcorn of some sort. And I'm feeding it. It was actually like a ball. They're like popcorn balls with like caramel in them or something like that. And I'm feeding this thing inside the hole, and I'm chucking food inside of there, and it's still groaning and still angry at me and screaming and groaning, screeching at me. But that was the whole thing. It was an interesting event that happened there, for continuing onward and continuing further with my travels to excel my journey through where I was going. And that thing was just, I swear, that thing was some kind of ghost or ghoul or goblin or something. It was living in the freaking the portal to hell. So I had to do a double label for the title of this one, and just be like, portal to hell / confessions. But that is a show for me, for you, for the part of me that keeps writing down these notes, that knows one of these days I'll get it. I'll know that I'm just gonna keep going through here like a speed demon across my notes, and still need to do it anyway, as it's important for now. But all the stuff that's freaking gotten out for content is the big announcement to watch my movies. Go watch my movie. Go listen to the new EPs I got out on the current project, and fucking hail Satan. I am XXXII. This is a Vault of Doom episode 32. Vault of Doom!